On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we are joined by OU President Joe Harroz Jr., and then we hand out some OU football spring ball awards. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Wednesday, April 16th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards. Ted, we are recording this a couple of days in advance. Now, it is a very important day for Oklahoma football and for college football in general. Happy spring transfer portal day, Ted.
Is it happy?
I
Yeah,
think
for some people it's going to be happy. Other teams it's going to be disappointing. This is just where we're at. I do think that we're in a position to perhaps add some really important pieces, but you know how it goes. Like roster limitations are a hell of a thing, and if you're bringing guys in, then some guys are going to have to go. That's the nature of the beast.
what do we feel with the portal opening today? And a reminder, we are having to record this in advance. I'll explain why here in a second. But you may have already gotten some good news yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
offensive line related. And over these next couple of days, we'll discuss guys that they land out of the portal. But what do you feel are the biggest needs for this team to address in the transfer portal?
Um, Obviously, I think a lot of it is going to depend on who is available and what they can honestly feel good about landing. But you've talked about it a lot, adding another piece to the interior of the offensive line, maybe a guy that can play center and guard, and add like another utility guy there that can you know at a minimum, add some depth at center. At best, push that position and maybe win it, or push Troy Everett to improve and give him some competition. But I think a piece on the offensive line. I think if there is a difference maker available at tight end, I think there'll be a player there. And then, I think we're solid at running back. But again, like if the right player emerges, we had this conversation early in the spring. If you can get a game changer at the running back spot, I feel like they're going to be in the market there. And given the injury with Javonte Gibson, I think the news, after the initial 24 or 48 hours has probably trended in a better way than maybe people feared. But it still wouldn't shock me if the right wide receiver comes available, that they try and add some depth there, maybe as a safety precaution. And then, I think we got a lot of good talent at quarterback or at corner. But again, the right player with experience that you feel like is a plug and play. Not a lot of those guys out there that are a plug and play in this defense currently, with the talent, the young talent that we have, and some of the guys that are going to be returning off injuries. So I don't know that player is going to be available, but if so, they could be a player there. And then maybe an inside backer, just to add a little bit of quality depth and experience, because I feel good about what they've got. Kip Lewis, Kobe McKenzie, Omasigo has had a good spring. Kendall Daniels, they've obviously added him to the mix. Um, Owen Heineke's had a really good spring, which maybe changes the formula or equation for them a little bit. But if they don't have anyone who's played a whole lot of ball after your frontline guy, so if the right player is out there at inside backer, they could be a player.
It is, it's no surprise that it feels like most of the needs are on offense. We all know what that offense was a year ago. Now we were feeling much better about where it's at this point as compared to a year ago with what we've got with Ben Arbuckle and more importantly, John Mateer. But yeah, I think it will be, it's almost a luxury if you can add some difference makers on defense. Like, is that what you really need? Probably not. You're probably the main bulk of the work that Jim Nagy and that front office are going to be doing is on the offensive side of the ball. I think that's fair to say.
I agree. And I would say that with how good the offense has looked through the spring, I it'll be the shock of the year if they're not massively better than they were a year ago, which the bar is set incredibly low. But I feel like they're in a position now to where if they have the right transfer portal haul at two or three positions, I think they go from being um, a, a vastly improved offense, if they got the right handful of players, to becoming a very dangerous offense.
They become closer to looking like the offenses we're used to seeing around here.
Yeah.
So we'll see clearly as the Sooners make portal additions. We'll talk about those guys. Would imagine we'll do some in the weeds about some of the guys that they land
Yep.
in the portal as well. So make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel for that content. Now, the reason we are recording this a few days in advance, I'm going to Cleveland, Ohio to do something called the Brain and Body Assessment.
Nice.
It's through the Trush, which is something that is powered by the NFLPA. And here's everything that's involved, Ted. And I won't lie, I'm slightly terrified to do this. Internal medicine evaluation, a neurological evaluation, a neuropsychological and behavioral health evaluation.
I've been meaning to tell you that you need one of those.
I I think everyone close to me would agree. A sleep evaluation, a musculoskeletal and rehabilitation evaluation, a physical therapy assessment, a body composition evaluation, some dietary consultation, and cardiovascular evaluation.
Thorough.
Thorough. This is something, it's something that the NFL does for guys that are vested players. It's my first one. You can do it once every 5 years. So I figured, hey, I turned 35 later this year. I'll do it when I'm 35 and I'm 40 and I'm 45. And I'm kind of terrified. I feel like I take pretty good care of myself, but I'm about to learn everything that's wrong with me and I'm scared, Ted. Help.
Well, hey, the fact that, I guess we have the opportunity to do this is incredibly important. In light of recent events, it never hurts to go get yourself checked out. There's no telling what issues you may have that are, lying beneath the surface that they can spot, diagnose, get out in front of. So smart by you.
I
Hope it
I
goes well.
am I'm most interested in the heart thing.
Yeah,
Just want to make sure the ticker's clean, looking good.
that's
The
good.
brain, hey man, it is what it is.
It is what
No
it
going
is.
back, buddy.
It is what it is.
Can't take all the hits away. There ain't you can't reverse it. It's okay.
That's
But
right.
the heart thing, I feel like I've got a good heart. I don't know though. I'm about to find out.
It'll be good. I'm glad you're doing it.
All right. Let's talk to the president of the University of Oklahoma. How about that?
Let's do it.
Here is Joe Harroz. It is our pleasure to be joined by the president of the University of Oklahoma. Joe Harroz is in the house, or should I say, Haruz?
Yeah, you can say either. Kids go by Haruz. It got Americanized a long time ago to Harrah's. So it's sort of a generational deal. I'm between generations, so I can go Harrah's or Haruz. And it's an honor to be here with self-declared football royalty.
Self-declared is correct. That is right.
Let's start right in the wheelhouse. Joe, you are a lawyer,
I am a
dean of the
lawyer.
law school before you were president. Can you explain the latest update to the House settlement to us like we're five? We're not that smart.
Yeah, I know better than that. I spent a lot of time around Bob Stoops. No one works harder at not sounding smart than Bob, even though he's brilliant. So I understand how this works. Yeah, so I mean, the latest thing is this being Wednesday, on Monday, the judge had a 7 hour hearing in the House settlement. Because it's a class action, it has unique rules most people aren't used to, and that is because it's being settled on behalf of so many people, the judge has to approve that settlement as fair. There's a long process for this. What happened on Monday was the final step in that process, or I guess the penultimate, the second to last step, which is the hearing where she hears from all of the objectors and then considers it, and then she will issue a ruling, a final decision on this, which is to come at an unspecified time from that hearing. But that hearing was on Monday. If you listened to any part of that, you heard primarily from objectors during that 7 hour time period. And then the judge, she will issue her ruling, and that will be the final ruling of the district court judge that can be appealed. But that would be the trigger that, if it is approved, would allow not only the posting of the money, the back damages, the 2+ billion, but also allow for what are the next steps that would be taken by the conferences to move forward with this settlement.
Well, you mentioned the appeal. I guess I always just assume that stuff is going to be appealed. Um, does the settlement go on as ruled during appeal, or is there a stay? How does that work?
Yeah, it most likely will go forward. There is a chance that the California is in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. So there is a chance that there could be an emergency stay put in place. I don't think it's likely. I think it would move forward. Now, what's more likely to cause some issues that you may have heard about in the press is, what if a different district judge that is in a different district than the Northern District of California, what if they intervened in a way to say that it wasn't binding? That's a possibility, and some folks are heading down that lane. I think a lot of that right now is speculation. Here's what we do know, which is, if it is approved, both the back damages and the framework to move forward with the settlement on the go forward, with the 22% and those player caps, then everyone's going to start moving to implement those.
How have you guys worked to be ready for when that happens? Like, what has the process been like for you, Joe, to get the university and the athletic department ready for whenever we know what this is going to look like?
Yeah, it's really a great question. It started almost 4 years ago. In June of 2001, the Alston case came down from the U.S. Supreme Court. And you'll recall that was the case that triggered all of this. And it was the NCAA arguing over a matter that effectively said, can the conferences, can the NCAA exclude any payment for athletes? Now, interestingly, a lot of conferences thought the NCAA would win, and they weren't just wrong. The decision was 9-0 in a very divided court. They got a rare thing to occur, which is every justice voted against the NCAA. That's hard to do. Okay. Now, so your question was, when did we start preparing? When that decision came down, while many folks wanted to keep their head in the sand It was clear to anyone who was not forcing themselves into the old framework to realize, hey, you need not be a legal scholar to say, can you prohibit by getting together, by colluding, can you prohibit players from getting paid? In that case, said what everybody kind of knew, which was you can't. And and once that case came down, I thought we would see a snap that everybody would rush towards, okay, how do we now handle this? What was fascinating is that most didn't. And that's why we are where we are almost 4 years later with this still sort of muddling through. Now, what did we do? We tried to get more prepared for it. You've seen some of the moves that we've made, but we talked about essentially three states as we've worked through it, which was the old world. We call that the land we used to be on, for an analogy. And then there's this river, right? And then there's a land on the other side. And we said to ourselves, as we think through this problem set, as we figure out how to keep OU athletics dominant, we have to do two things. We have to realize in this analogy that the old land we lived on is gone. We're in this river crossing over to this new land, and we don't know what this new land looks like, but we are in this river of uncertainty. We've got to keep our nose above water, keep ourselves available to be flexible, and try and chart out what does that new land, the sustainable version of college athletics, look like on that other side. I'd say right now we're towards hopefully the banks of that river. We don't know exactly what this new land looks like, but we know a lot more than we knew 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 18 months ago. So we've tried to do the entire time. We've had so many conversations. We've had literally hundreds of conversations about how do we stay afloat in this river? How do we limit the options of what the steady state going forward is? And then how do we make sure that we're best positioned for that? And part of that's getting your head around the fact that the minute that Alston case came down from the U.S. Supreme Court in June of 2001, everything changed. But what I've learned is that people hate change. They hate change. People will tell you they're good at change, right? And they'll sound convincing. And people that were expert at the way it used to be, they're like everybody else. They don't like change. And so I think we've seen this throughout athletics at the college level, which is an inability to recognize, and once you recognize, to actually engage in change. And hopefully that's something that we're doing better than most, which is accepting that change, understanding it, and making those changes necessary to be truly competitive.
We'll get you back to the interview, but first, hitting the highway. Remember to stop at Love's Travel Stops. You can't miss the heart of the highway. And with the Love's app, you can also save big. How big? 10 or 15 cents big. Save 10 cents per gallon on gas and 15 cents per gallon on auto diesel. Save with the Love's app today and be welcomed by clean places and friendly faces. Certain conditions may apply. See loves.com for details.
You listen to this podcast to get insight from the guys who played the game. Why don't you take that same approach when it comes to buying your beef? When you order from Didier Ranch, you are getting your beef directly from the people who raise it. A rancher knows what it takes to have premium quality beef. Didier Ranch has done it for over 100 years right here in Oklahoma. From delicious 21-day dry-aged ribeyes to savory steak burgers, there is no better place to get your beef. Get your beef from the guys who've done it and use code Oklahoma15 for 15% off on DidierRanch.com. Didier Ranch, tradition tastes better.
And we are brought to you by Simple Modern, an Oklahoma-owned company and the official drinkware partner of the OU Sooners. Spring is here, which means busy weekends filled with baseball, soccer, and outdoor fun. Plus, Mother's Day is right around the corner. The new Getaway bag is perfect for moms this spring. Its durable rubber sides can handle muddy cleats and gear, and you can easily rinse it clean. And it works just as great for a road trip car tote or as a beach bag for summer travel. It's as versatile as all the amazing women in your life. Plus, with 10% of all Simple Modern profits going to charity, many right here in Oklahoma, you're also helping Oklahomans everywhere. Simple Modern, good everywhere. All right, back to the interview.
Well, I know we've built the framework, specifically looking at the football side of things. How did I guess take us through the thought process and how you guys wanted to build, for lack of a better term, the organization aiming it towards the new framework.
Yeah. So as we looked at this, we realized that it was going to have more professional aspects. So let's take football specifically. It was going to have more professional aspects than it was going to have college aspects. And that's a hard thing for people that have spent 20, 30 years in college athletics to get their head around. I mean, forever, it was the evil that shall not be done to pay players. It was at the core of our philosophy on amateurism. And so as we went into this, we said, okay, how do we identify properly how much disruption there is and how do we react to it? And you know what? We had a lot of good ideas. The best idea we had was bringing in Randall Stevenson. Randall Stevenson was the CEO of AT&T for 13 years. He has been on the PGA Tour board and just came off whenever they had the disruption over the Saudi deal. He's on the board of Walmart. He is someone that has been in a heavily regulated industry, just like college football, who's seen major disruptions and has had to identify it and succeed in that landscape. And that was a huge part of us understanding our own limitations, identifying the change, and then building a structure around what the reality is, not what we wished it would remain or wish it would be.
Joe,
here's something that's interesting, which is people that don't know what to do, and I love this line, and it goes hand in hand with the thing about change, but people that don't know what to do during change, they do what they know how to do. And I think we see a lot of that in college athletics right now, where people know there's change, they don't like change, and to keep themselves busy because they're not ready to adapt, they just work harder at what they know how to do. So one of the things we've done is bring in Randall. Randall's helping us, and I'm throwing myself right in the middle of that, helping us change for this new environment.
One of the big changes is what's going on with football.
Yeah.
The implementation of the front office, hiring Jim Nagy, letting him build out that front office. What was that process like for you and the implementation of that idea?
Yeah. So initially you get huge resistance. You all know the NFL way better than I'll ever know, but we did a deep dive into the NFL and realized that every team had gone to a true pro GM model where the GM is a co-equal of the coach. The last one to go there was Bill Belichick. Okay. He was the last one where he was the head coach over the GM directly. And there are variations of this, but that's what our research found. And so, but you can't just know what the right model is going to look like. You've got to deal with the people that you have. And I'm really proud of Joe Castiglione, very proud of Coach Venables, the ability to take a look at all of this change and say, do we need to restructure ourselves for that? And so we had a lot of conversations about why is the pro model where it is? How are we different than the pro model? How are we alike on the pro model? Because it isn't the same. There's still unique elements, but in the aggregate, getting your head around what is the right structure. Why do the pros do it the way they do it? What are the competing tensions? What's it like for a head coach to tell a player how good he is, to coach him all season long, and then towards the end of the season say, hey, I, the head coach, have made the decision you're worth 30% less to the team, take it or leave it. That blows up that relationship. And so there's a reason the pros have done it this way. And through our lens, as disruptive as it is, I think we're the first in the country to truly do a pro GM style. That's what the market dictates. That's what all the data tells us is the right structure.
Well, it's not the only change going on. And maybe that whole situation was part of the thinking that we've got the move to the SEC going on at the same time. So we've got a lot of different stuff happening. How have you so far? We haven't completed the first year. We're getting close. Impressions of the first year. What do you think of the future, and maybe how has it impacted the university as a whole?
Yeah. So I put the move to the SEC as the first major step in structural change. If your structure isn't right, no matter how good you are, you cannot win. And by the way, A players won't go. If A players are truly A players, Will not go somewhere unless your structure is correct so you can win. When we're in the Big 12, it was crystal clear. For all the analysis we did, we looked at it and we were like, there's two imperatives. We are able to compete for championships, not just to get in playoffs, but to compete for championships. And we've got to remain financially self-sufficient at a time of massive disruption. Now, at this time, we'd already had that 2001 Supreme Court case. We knew there was change coming, but nobody wanted to restructure. We looked at it and said the SEC or the Big Ten are the two only places that a large program like OU, with the proxy being a big stadium, can go to for safety. And the Big Ten wasn't the right fit for us. The SEC was. How has it been? Turns out it's easy being in the SEC. Games are easy. I think we were undefeated last year. I forget the exact count on the season, but no, I mean it's when you really think about it. How do you accomplish your major goals? For us, there was no place other to go, and it's not just the increase in the dollars that flow from the conference itself. It's the matchups you get. We get more revenue from selling out our stadium by far and away than we get from our revenue from the conference. So the kinds of matchups and how exciting they are absolutely essential to your business model, your ability to attract the kinds of athletes you want so they can perform on the stages they want, and also the television slots they have and the programming available so they can showcase their skills. So there's no question in my mind, even though we would have preferred a better record last football season, that was the only move we could have made and still been viable. If you rewound and we hadn't moved, OU athletics would not be in any, even in the same stratospheres we're in right now in terms of ability. We have more work to do. We know that, but we're actually in a position to be successful. We're structured to be successful. I don't know if it's a one-for-one correlation, but right now across the country, most schools are shrinking in terms of student body. Across the country, the last 6-7 years, our nation is down 2 million students in terms of attendance to college. A lot of schools are down 15, 20%. We did our strategic plan before the move to the SEC. We just finished that 5-year strategic plan heading into the second. We said, look, if everything goes right, we won't get caught in this down trough. We'll hopefully stay steady or tick up a little in terms of student enrollment. This last year, we grew the most we have since 1975 at the University of Oklahoma student body. Wow. Our freshman class was up the last 2 years, 20%. We're tracking just under 10% growth over that this year. So we're growing in a way we haven't in 50 years. If this growth continues, it'll be the fastest in the university's history, except from the beginning. So a lot of really good things are happening. How much of that is the move to the SEC? Well, to answer that, you've got to look at our strategic plan and ask where athletics fits in our strategic plan. How important is athletics to the University of Oklahoma's future? And when you look at what we do, now put yourself in the mindset of an undergraduate thinking about where they're going to go. You can get most of an education right now very efficiently online. Why would you go somewhere and spend time on that campus physically if you could do most of it virtually? When you break down what we do as a university, we got 5 pillars of what we do. And if we had a 4-hour podcast, we'd cover it. But inside
Joe,
of
you can have as much time as you want, buddy.
No, absolutely.
We will. We've got nothing going on.
Gabe, I feel like you'd stay longer. I think Teddy'd be out in like about 40 seconds, which is not a commentary on the attention span. But the bottom line is, if you look at sort of the 5 key components to our university, 2 of those have to do with research and teaching directly. The other all circulate around how a student is successful, both academically and once they get out into the, in quotes, real world to be an expert or to be successful. So much of that is around social and emotional growth, the attachment to something that they belong to, and that's how you're truly successful. So when you think about Sooner athletics, it's not something we also do. It's at the heart of when a student attaches themselves to this university. You belong to something bigger than yourself, and you can get accepted somewhere, but until you feel like you belong, you don't really flourish. OU athletics is a critical part of what makes our students, our fans, our alums, everyone feel like they belong. And it also teaches them the ability to engage in grit and how to succeed and how to fail. So Sooner Athletics is not just a part of our DNA, it's a part of the fabric of what the University of Oklahoma is.
So several things you mentioned, Joe, leads me to a question. If filling the stadium is one of the most important things when it comes to a revenue standpoint, is there any plan to make that stadium bigger? Because if that's such a driver of revenue and there's more demand now that they're in the SEC and we have these better matchups on the field, but then you also have this conversation of, okay, what really matters in college football now is playing in the SEC and NIL money and that piece. Like, how do you balance all of that when it comes to upgrading the football stadium and making that decision?
Yeah, so you follow the data, and what the data tells us is what drives the fan experience, both inside the stadium and outside of the stadium. First, it's a quality product. It's got to be something people want to watch at the highest level. The matchups need to be interesting. The SEC takes care of that. But then when you look at stadiums, you ask yourself, how do you optimize for the experience, right? So we have Lloyd Noble that holds whatever, 13, 15, 17,000, somewhere in there. We are waiting on a Supreme Court decision to move forward with the new arena. Fingers crossed, no question. But that's going to be a 9,000 person arena. So why would you go from an arena that holds, let's call it 1.7 times to one that's smaller? And that is when you design arenas today, because of the quality of television, because of the 4K quality, you've got to create an experience that is truly unique. And so a lot of the design around optimizing for stadiums is not just total numbers, but do you create experiences that will bring you out and keep you, and those for which you'll pay a premium amount? And so it's about those sorts of creating fan experiences and fan amenities. So it's not just sheer size, it's a combination of size and experience. That's why we're looking at the West Side, right? And the West Side, if that all pans out and makes sense, that's not built around adding seats. It's around optimizing that fan experience.
Are there any other plans in the future, maybe that you guys have, if things continue to progress, that people should be aware of?
Everyone talks about the north end zone. We obviously haven't touched that in a long time. I don't know that's sort of, if you had a perfect world, could you get there? I think that's where you go next. You do west side of the stadium, then you do north end zone. But that's, right now there's such volatility in college athletics. Until we know with some level of certainty where it is, a lot of that conversation needs to sort of just, we can plan, but you don't move until you've got a good idea of what that land looks like on the other side of the river.
We'll get you back to the interview, but first,
Schwab Meat has been smoking the highest quality meats, hot dogs, and sausages in OKC since 1912. Go to schwabmeat.com to order any of Schwab's outstanding products and use promo code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab dogs are iconic. I like to keep it simple. Just a bun, dog, mustard, ketchup. Also, the jalapeno cheddar smoked sausage is ridiculous. Schwabmeat.com, code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab Meat, the official hot dog of game days.
Oklahoma's favorite pub, Pub W, is a modern American pub offering a great new take on classic drinks and cuisine. They offer an extensive beer and specialty drink selection with something for everyone, and that's exactly why Pub W was voted best happy hour. And we all love a delicious brunch. Pub W brunch is served Saturdays and Sundays until 2 p.m. with some of the most delicious brunch offerings you'll find anywhere. Now open in Yukon, Oklahoma. Visit one of their 6 Oklahoma locations. Visit pubdub.com for locations and menus.
Insurica's launched a new digital agency introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the U.S., they've got you covered. From small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements. Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you.
All right, back to the interview. Do you just, I'm interested, clearly Joe Castiglione is handling a lot of things when it comes to the athletics department. What's it like like when do you come in? Like what is that balance like as far as your involvement with athletics? Because I know you're a sports guy. Like
Yeah.
we every time I see you, we're either talking about OU or the Thunder. That's what we talk about when we get together. So it's how involved are you day to day, or do you just get pulled into kind of the big, massive
Yeah.
decisions?
Well, look, I think if you tire of Teddy, I think I'm definitely a good option for your partner on this show. I think I'm involved enough to handle that.
Once again,
Right.
welcome anytime.
No,
I do
no.
need a vacation. I do need a vacation. I'll say that.
Why do I think the fan, this is one of my great lines about Bob Stoops and sports stars like yourself versus me. Okay. Stoops and I are great friends, and Bob looks at me one day and he goes, "Hey, Joe, you think you're a pretty good speaker, don't you?" Right. Once again, Bob trying his best to not sound like he's actually very gifted. And I go, "Well, I do like speaking, Bob." And he goes, "You think you're better than me?" And I was like, okay, maybe I do. And he looked at us, he goes, "Okay, okay, okay, okay." He goes, "How come every time I see you after a speech, they give you a coffee mug and they give me 35,000?" So I know exactly where I stand relative to you guys, right? Nobody wants to hear it
That's
from
funny.
me. I
No
always
one
get,
has ever given me
yeah,
$35,000 for a speech.
right.
That's the
And,
dream right there.
but no, where do I sit in all this? When you think about the two biggest consumers of time for a university president in a comprehensive research university, you're everywhere. And so to have professionals like Joe C is critical, right? And Randall's helping out, and we got Nagy now involved. But the two biggest users of a comprehensive research university president's time, it's academic medicine, and it's athletics. There's just so much to it, and it's so connected to your alumni and to your fans and to the student experience. So, I spend some time on it. Nothing obviously like what Joe does, and so it's the Joe show. But I get mainly involved with strategy, and trying to be a part of how do we plan for some of these macro moves.
Well, how do we feel about the future? I mean, it feels like, we've gone through great detail to set everything up. We feel good about the organizational structure. What's the future for college athletics look like?
Yeah, let me go macro. Let's go macro college athletics, then OU itself. I think macro. I don't know yet. I mean, it hasn't met its point of equilibrium yet. I think it's a huge conversation and one that I think is really fascinating, and I talk a lot about at the SEC board meetings, which we have every 2 weeks. My friends can't let go of it either, but this idea of where is college athletics going? The hearing on Monday was a huge thing. Even if it is approved, then does it really hold? And if so, we got a pretty good idea what that looks like. Um, but I do think there's some more volatility and uncertainty surrounding college athletics that is yet to play out. It will find a level, but it's not there yet. At OU, I think we're doing a good job of leaning into it. Part of it is, do you have really great people? And I got to tell you, Coach Venables has been absolutely terrific. There are plenty of coaches that come in with his experience, with 30 years of experience, and they're like, "This is how I do things. I don't change those things." And, we call it, among, our kids, do you have a growth mindset or not? And I think to be really successful in this environment, you've got to have a growth mindset. You've got to work as a team. You've got to actually have, people like a Randall and a Joe C, and hopefully I contribute something, and your head football coach and all your head coaches thinking about dynamically and challenging themselves on assumptions that have been ingrained for 30 years. And to pick on Coach Venables, he's not scared to challenge you on a point. We've had plenty of conversations about it, but every time he'll come out of it thinking and exploring, is there a better way to do this? We couldn't have done this. We could not have put in a true pro style GM structure without Coach Venables. And he's 100% on board. He gets it. He's embraced it. But you know what? He didn't do it by blithely accepting the proposition. He got engaged in the room, challenged it, pushed on it, and we came out with this together. So, I think from a structural or personnel side, I think we're in a good position, and I think the future looks really good.
When you have a coach now, Patty Gasso's in her own category, own stratosphere,
The GOAT
right?
is the GOAT.
The
Yeah.
goat is the goat. We don't even need to go there,
No, just
but
leave him out there. Let
just
her
leave
go.
it. It's a Mount Rushmore of one. It's just a big picture of Patty's face on the mountain, right?
Absolutely. I've got the GOAT picture of her on my desk. So yeah.
But when you have a coach like Jenny Baranczyk that has come in and done such a great job, do you just send an email out to the other university presidents saying, "Don't even think about it"? Like, is that how that works? You're like, "Don't stay away. Don't even think about it. We're going to take care of her." Is that how that works? Is it just one email blast out to
That's
everyone?
right. That's right. On the president's email blast, I just tell him don't touch a Coach Baranczyk. It's a hyper competitive world, and so you better be communicating with your stars, and you better be communicating with those that aren't stars, because there's huge opportunity there right now. People can say what they want. We got a rule around here, which is if you're going to complain about the changes in college football, we don't want to hear from you. It's change. I get it, but it's opportunity. These are when dynasties are made. The greatest chance to become the next dynasty occurs when there's massive change. There's massive change. And so as we look at this, you can never stop somebody from trying to poach one of your coaches, just like you can't with your players. But what you can do is have a set of values, a philosophy, and work and communicate in a way that allows you guys to lean into this challenge together and actually see what the upside is in a way that makes people want to stay here. So I hope that's where it is. I got to tell you, Jenny Baranczyk is one of the most forward-thinking, dynamic individuals out there in coaching. And that's not just among women's basketball coaches, it's among all coaches. She gets it. She leans into change in a way that really is special.
Most importantly for me, are you going to jump in the O-line, D-line, one-on-ones at the Crimson Combine? Are you going to be in the 7-on-7 drills? What drills you partaking in?
I'm a big Oklahoma drill guy. And
Banned,
yeah,
outlawed, can't do it.
yeah. Well,
Illegal.
we're
You're
doing
a
it on
lawyer.
that
You
day.
should know this. Illegal, Joe.
We just
Right.
changed the name of it is all we did, right? You
Yeah.
just call it something else.
It's funny, you don't see a lot of 5'10", 168 Lebanese guys that do a lot of line work, but I think you'll see me out there bringing the heat. My center of gravity isn't really low because I've got chicken legs, but I got a lot of determination.
So
Determination could get you far.
yeah, it's all about attitude and effort, right?
There we go.
But
Believe me, if we get out there, you'll see it's not only about attitude and effort.
I expect you now. We're not gonna put this on an episode until next week, probably. So the Crimson Combine will have already happened. I
Yeah.
do expect. I saw on the schedule there's a closest to the pin challenge. I
Oh, yeah.
do expect you to be involved in that because, come on, maybe the most important question for last. Where's the golf game at right now? How are we feeling about it?
Yeah, no, it's spring. The index is a lie. If you looked at it, I can't play to that. But yeah, I've got a son who's a junior in college. We play some golf together. The guys I play golf with for fun. From Stoops to Hogg and all those guys. And I love the game and love playing it. Game's okay for where we are in the season right now.
It is Masters weekend. Should we let him just name like 15 or 20 golfers and then we can edit in that he picked the Masters?
Oh yeah,
winner?
I can absolutely do that.
yeah. I can tell you right now, it's Rory's time.
Not a bad
I know.
pick.
I know the ghosts of the past are there. I know it's been a drought. I know what's happened the last couple of majors. I'm telling you, Rory is going to step up and win this.
Watch, he's gonna miss the cut, and we're gonna run this next week, and everyone's gonna be like, "Great call, Prez."
I think it's a good pick, though. We need that story right now. We need
It'd
it.
be a good story right now. Easy pick as chef for, but there's always those live guys that'll come in right now. They get pretty hyped for the four.
Joe, you're the man. Thank you so much for the time,
Yeah.
and we appreciate your service to the
No, hey, listen to
University
you
of
guys
the
all the
Oklahoma.
time. Proud of you guys. Thank you all. And anytime you want me, you got me.
You're the best, man. Thanks.
See y'all.
If you're as passionate about OU sports as we are, now's your chance to make a difference with One Oklahoma. As the official NIL partner of the University of Oklahoma, One Oklahoma plays a crucial role in keeping the Sooners competitive in the SEC. Your subscription goes beyond the revenue sharing cap, directly helping recruit and support the athletes who become Sooner legends. Plus, you'll get access to exclusive events, behind the scenes content, merch, giveaways, and more. Join the team and be the difference maker for your Sooners. Join today at oneoklahoma.com. And three things matter in banking: service, service, and service. And First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise, it's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they are honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you are headed. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go. And go to opolisclothing.com and use promo code TED for 10% off our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's opolisclothing.com and use promo code TED. Buttery soft and 10% off. All right, let's finish this thing up with having a little fun, Ted. Let's hand out our Oklahoma football spring ball awards.
All right. These are pretty much thought of as the most important awards in college football.
That's what I'm told. We don't make the rules. That's just what we're told. Now, I think we need to start with this caveat. Like, we just can't give every award to Mateer, right? Should we just exclude him from the award? Should this be like we're going to give, hey, most impressive offensive player in spring ball? Can we just make it most impressive player not named John Mateer?
Okay. Xing through all of my notes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Mateer's going to get everyone that was like, hey, most impressive new guy. Like, it's going to Mateer. So how about should we just start off by praising John Mateer? Get that out of the way. Like, he's looked awesome. He's played well. His leadership is maybe the best thing that he's brought to this program. Like, the belief, the confidence he's building for those guys on that side of the ball. He is everything OU hoped he would be and more.
I agree.
So let's just leave him out of the awards because he's been that good.
Hey, I take a lot from my conversations with the current defensive players when I ask them about Mateer. Like, I take a lot from what they say. Because they're defending against him, but also, like, it's very important that your defense has a very strong belief in what's going on the other side of the ball, and the defensive players love him. And he's got a great relationship with those guys. You'll see him practice. He comes over and, they've got good, fun banter going back and forth. There's good competition there. It's very telling when it looks like an entire football team loves their quarterback and believes in their quarterback, and we got that right now.
There's no doubt about it. Now, let's get to our first award.
Okay.
The most impressive offensive player in spring ball, not named John Mateer. Who are you going with?
Well, I'm going with Giovanni Gibson, especially since the news about the injury has sounded like, at least for now, it's trended in a much better direction. We didn't know, and a lot of people were upset about the wide receiver transfer portal haul that we had right at the end of the season. Giovanni Gibson coming from Pine Bluff, it didn't feel like a home run with the fan base whenever, because, it's a smaller school, not a massively known quantity. But from day one, practice one, you could tell that he is a legitimate, high-end, top-tier wide receiver with star potential in the SEC. And that's saying a lot. If you're a star in the SEC, you're a first-round caliber wide receiver. And he has a lot of those qualities. And some of the most impressive stuff has been the off-field, like his approach to getting better whenever you have a great spring and everyone's coming over and patting you on the back and telling you how great you're doing, that had no impact on him at all. Not good enough. I need to get better. I'm going to keep improving. I've done nothing yet. I haven't caught a ball in a game. Like, it sounds like he's really got it together mentally, like in chasing down being a top tier wide receiver in college football. And the chemistry between he and Mateer has been fantastic. He'll push the ball down the field to him when he's covered and let him go up and make plays. Giovanni Gibson, to me, because we covered him on some of the end of the weed stuff, and there's some good positives there. And I think you said right from the beginning, like, hey, if you look deep enough, there's some serious potential here, and I think he's gone above and beyond what most people expected to get out of him, and that's been, to me, one of the best signs of the entire spring.
I agree. Now he's just got to get back, right?
That's right. That's good. That's the big factor here.
It was. I don't think it was quite a full Dolby, but maybe like a half, 3/4 Dolby situation. It was, from what we were told, not a good looking injury.
Right.
But they do seem more positive about it. If he can get back by SEC play and look like the guy that he looked like in spring practice, then he's going to be a huge piece of this football team, man.
Yep.
They need him to get back.
And the fit is perfect too. I think having a guy like him, like he's a legit outside receiver, big physical frame. Having a presence like that, in my opinion, is how you get the most out of Burks.
For my most impressive player in spring ball, not named John Mateer, of course. On the offensive side, every time I was out there, Isaiah Satania made play after play after play in the middle of the field, operating out of that slot, because Burks was kind of limited throughout spring practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Satania had a ton of work in that slot position. And Ted, he can run.
Yep.
And especially some of those deep over routes that are a big part of this Arbuckle offense. Like, Mateer throws those routes extremely well, and Satania runs them extremely well.
Yep.
Now, a little banged up at the end of the spring ball. Don't think that's anything to be concerned about when it comes to the season. But when I was out there, like, I was most impressed, other than Mateer and Gibson. Like, Isaiah Satania was the next guy for me. I knew he had some production at Arkansas, right? You knew coming in, he was going to know how to work. He's played in the SEC, like he knows what's what. But I think he's come in and made it very clear he's going to be a big piece of this football team, big piece of this offense in the 2025 season.
I agree. When it came to wide receivers, he was probably the most known quantity, being able to see his film and see the production at Arkansas against similar opponents that we're going to, like, the type of teams we're going to be playing against. And I would say, like, I know they track all this, so I don't know what the numbers are, but I'd be shocked if he wasn't one of the most productive wide receivers that they had throughout spring. Maybe he didn't have the wow plays over the top and like some of the physical plays that you saw from a guy like Giovanni Gibson, but every practice I was at, like, he was shredding the middle of the field on the crosser routes. Like, that seems like it's his go-to, and I would also say I think that's one of Mateer's strongest points that I saw, was those crossing routes and hitting those guys in stride at full speed, and it's hell on a defense.
He attacks the middle of the field, and that was just non-existent for OU's offense a year ago. They just did not attack the middle of the field, especially like in the intermediate to deep area in the passing game.
Right.
Just rarely happen. And John Mateer is perfectly comfortable throwing it into tight windows in the middle of the field. And those guys, those inside wide receivers, whether it's Burks, Satania, like whatever tight end they have in the game, like you better be ready for the football to come your way if you're operating in the middle of the field, because it's almost like Mateer prefers it, like he likes it. He
Yeah.
sees it well. But yeah, Satania for me was a guy that really stood out. My honorable mention is Derek Simmons.
He's been solid.
Better than I thought he was going to be. Has been solid. Has just held down that right tackle spot all of spring ball. It seems like you want to hit on linemen out of the portal. It seems like they've hit on Derek Simmons.
Yeah.
It's had a solid spring.
I think another name that, I don't know what it equals in the fall. Maybe in the best case scenario, it equals 0. But I think we have to talk about how good Mike Hawkins has been as well. He's been great. He has really improved. He's way snappier with the football. He uses his athleticism in a great way. He's really benefited from Arbuckle and the offense and the coaching that he gets, but also I think he benefits a lot from watching Mateer. He had none of that last year. He was kind of, learning it as Jackson Arnold was learning it, and that's a totally different dynamic than what he's got going on this year.
Yeah. I think that, we talked to Arbuckle about it. He feels really good about what Mike Hawkins is going to be as a player.
Yep.
Really good. So, yeah, I think I'm feeling it. I feel much better about the quarterback position than I did a year ago. And that has a lot to do with the offensive line looking way more consistent as well. But let's move to the defensive side of the ball, Ted. Most impressive player on defense in spring ball. Who do you got?
I'm kind of going off the radar a little bit because, I think just generally we felt good about the safety position coming into the offseason. Weren't necessarily sure who exactly it was going to be, but we knew we had some really good options back there. They've got some really good physically talented safeties. They're coached incredibly well with Brandon Hall. I think Jaden Hardy, to me, has been one of the brightest spots in spring ball on the defensive side. You never know how guys are going to react whenever a 4-year starter, NFL caliber player like a Billy Bowman leaves the program. You're never sure, who's going to step into that role and like what the personality of that player is going to be in the role. Like if you walked out to practice and didn't know any better, you would think that Jaden Hardy's a 3-year starter. I mean, the way he communicates and has taken ownership over that position, I feel really good about the way he's played through spring, and I've been impressed, and I think he's due to have a really good year.
I think you just love him because he talks so much trash.
That's a big part of it, admittedly.
You do
Good
love a
trash
defensive back, and so do I. A defensive back that talks a lot. I don't want my defensive backs quiet.
No.
And it's rare to find a quiet DB, especially a good quiet DB, but he is always saying something, and I like that a lot.
Yep. And it's not all just trash talk. He is probably the best communicator that I've seen on the defense, and people may have different opinions about that are out there every single day, but he is loud. He's communicating. He's directing players, getting everyone on the same page. And that's not easy to do. You have to be very confident in what you know, and you have to be very confident that you're right to be loud and to put it out there, because if you are loud and you put it out there and you're wrong, you look like an idiot, right? So you got to know what you're doing. And, I guess I can't ultimately judge on whether or not all of the information is absolutely correct that he's throwing out there, but It appears that way to me. And aside from all that, he's making plays. Good tackler, physical player. He's got good speed. He's aggressive. He's what you want at safety.
I'm going to take the layup on the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to go with R. Mason Thomas as the most impressive player. You want your best players to be improving and kind of setting the tone for the entire team.
Mm-hmm.
And when I've been out to practice, like R. Mason Thomas is always practicing.
Yes.
He's always practicing hard. He's always using good technique. And Brent Venables told us at the Crimson Combine, it's been his best spring.
You want your best players practicing and practicing hard is what he said when he was talking about R. Mason Thomas.
It sets the tone for everyone else. And one of the reasons, and R. Mason seems like, from the interactions that we've had with him, seems like an incredibly interesting guy, really nice guy. But you never know how a guy is going to react when he gets his payday. And R. Mason Thomas got his payday.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he could have gone to the draft and that whole thing that time, but he got paid. And he deserved to get paid. He was one of the best edge players in the SEC last season. He deserved to get paid. And you never know how that's going to affect a player. Your hope is that player will go, okay, I got to show these people that I am worth the money that they gave me. And that's exactly what R. Mason Thomas has done this spring. He's gotten better. He's been out there at practice every damn day, setting the tone for this defense and this entire football team. And that is a dream scenario for Brent Venables and this staff, that they're arguably their best player on the entire team got his payday and said, you know what? I got to get better. Mm-hmm. He's improved his body. He's playing with better technique. This is as good as I've seen him when it comes to playing the run. Pad level, hands, physicality, all of it. We know the guy can rush the passer. But he has reacted exactly how you would hope to him getting that money.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the one of the very important factors that you mentioned is his first 2 years here was totally hampered by injury. Ankle, was lower leg. I don't know exactly what he had, but it was very difficult for him to string a bunch of practices together where he was healthy and could go full go. And he played all season, had a really good training camp last year. He's really put a long run of good practice and playing time out there, and you can see the dividends that it's paid. I'll also say that he has benefited from the strength of the offensive line, to where it's been a good environment to work on his skill set. Can't just go out there, run around the corner all day long at tackle. He's getting really good, legitimate work, and those two sides have made each other better.
No doubt about it. How about we hand out some awards to some young guys that have impressed in spring ball?
Okay.
Even though you already gave one to Hardy, he's a young guy.
I know.
But we'll figure out someone else. But first, we are brought to you by Mando. The weather is warming up, and that makes the deodorant you choose very important. And we are Mando men. Mando's whole body deodorant is safe to use anywhere on your body and is aluminum free and dye free. The Cloverwood scent is great. Love the Pro Sport, but I'm a bourbon leather guy for the time being, Ted. I'm really enjoying it. Now, you can go on their website. You can order the 3-pack. You can pick 3 different scents that you want. You can get 2 of one of the other. You can do it however you want it. And luckily, we have a discount code to help you get hooked on the best smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code OKBreakdown. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code OKBreakdown at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com, code OKBreakdown. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Shopmando.com, code OKBreakdown. Most impressive young guy on offense, Ted, coming out of spring ball.
Easy one for me. I saw this guy for the first time maybe a year or so ago. Elijah Thomas, just like some camp highlights that I saw. And I was like, ooh, who is that kid? Had no idea he was an Oklahoma wide receiver from Shikoda. Caught my eye right out of the gate. You see what he did through high school, and has just continued to be a better and better player. Loved him from the beginning, and whenever he started playing as a freshman out there in spring ball, he got up to speed really fast. He has some great physical talent. He makes a ton of wow plays, acrobat catches, diving catches. He's got some competitiveness to him. I think the future is incredibly bright for Elijah Thomas, and I think that he's going to be a factor in the offense this year to a pretty large degree. Now, obviously, that'll depend on, some of the health of the guys around him and what it all looks like. But I'd be shocked if he's not a guy that we're talking about in the fall as at a minimum being a rotational receiver and getting some really good reps and snaps and opportunities as a true freshman.
Remember at the Crimson Combine, we asked Arbuckle guys that have really stood out to him, and that have really improved, and he was one of the names he mentioned.
Yep. He's been great.
At this point, I'll be really surprised if he's not making plays for this team in the fall.
Yep.
I think he's going to play a lot.
Yep. He can run. I think if I remember right, we went back. If you go back to the signing day stuff when we got to hear Venables talk about these guys, I think he had one of the fastest GPS miles per hour in all of football last year with some of the speeds that he was hitting out there on the field. So got great speed, great hands, attacks the football. Yeah, he's an exciting young player.
Now I must make a tough decision. Fasusi or Foje? Fasusi or Foje? I'm going Fasusi. Just because there's a premium on the tackle position. He is everything they hoped he was going to be. And I do not know if he's going to start right away, but this young guy is going to play quite a bit. And here's where I'm at with it, Ted. I like to think I don't like to overhype kids, especially offensive linemen. I'd say I'm one of the most critical when it comes to the offensive line. If he's not a top 10 pick, eventually, meaning everyone involved with Oklahoma football, we have failed him. We have failed as a group. And I'm including the radio guys in this. That's coaches. That's strength and conditioning. That's the training staff, nutrition staff, academic support. If this guy is not a top 10 pick with the physical tools that he has, with the way that I watch him work out on the practice field, if he's not a top 10 pick, we have all failed.
Well,
I've seen him practice like 5 times.
Well, I would say that it's a pretty positive sign whenever I talk to people around the program that have experience, I guess I should say, in this world, that just casually say that he'll be the number 1 pick in the draft someday. All right, that's at 17, 15 practices in, when people are speaking that way of him, I'd say that's pretty telling.
He is very impressive. And now he has to have a good summer, man. He's got to get stronger. He's got to continue to work on his body. He's got to continue to work on his quickness and his explosion, like all that stuff. And that's the summer's very, very important for that. It seems like everything I can tell, he has been able to absorb the playbook and all of these things very quickly and very well. I'm sure there's room for improvement there. He's still a true freshman, but he's so talented. It feels like it's just going to be very, very difficult for Beaton Bow to keep him off the field.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if could he be the week one starter at left tackle? It would not surprise me one bit at all. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Like maybe Jacob Stetson, maybe Logan Howland. I don't know. There's going to be a good battle for that left tackle spot. There's going to be a good battle for that right tackle spot. But there's just no denying that he's the most talented guy they got in that room.
That's just so crazy to think about. Can you imagine being a true freshman left tackle against Michigan in week 2 in front of like probably going to be the craziest like atmosphere in a long, I mean, that's just wild to think about. Awesome.
From everything I've been told, it seems like a guy that can handle it. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Maybe he ends up, it's like midway through the year, he takes over. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't start at all. I don't know. But he's going to play. They have to develop this guy. Like let's be real. There's a financial piece to all of this. They've committed a lot financially to him to get him to Oklahoma, and it looks like he's going to be worth every dollar. So I am very, very impressed and very, very excited about Michael Fasusi.
Totally agree. Yeah, that's a great development. I mean, I haven't seen you or the people that are talking about off it, like it's the most optimistic future that I feel like we've had in a long time with Foje and Fasusi and how good they've looked. I mean, they looked really good in high school. All of the tape, all of the stuff, that the evaluation, you never know what you're going to get when those guys walk on campus, right? I mean, we've seen it before, not just here, across the country. You got elite 5-star guys that come in and you find out, well, it's going to be a bit more of a project than we maybe anticipated. Not the case with these guys. Since day one, all you've heard is, wow.
I don't like having to talk about this, but it is what it is. The only thing that's going to hold those two guys back from being early round picks, catastrophic injury. That's it.
Yeah.
Just kind of have to put it out there. Like that's the only thing. So I'm so excited. Most impressive young guy. Last award here. I was going to do, hey, what's the best quote coming out of spring ball? But that goes to Canick and what he said about jugs. I mean, that's just
easy.
I've been on those jugs like a baby on milk. All-time quote.
Media award easily goes to Canick. I mean,
no doubt about it. Congratulations, Jared.
He's been great. And he's fun to watch out there too, moving to offense.
Most impressive young guy on defense coming out of spring ball. Who you got?
It's an easy one for me. It's David Stone. You go back a year ago, I think people wrongly maybe judged him off of Jaden Jackson's success, because you had Jaden Jackson who wasn't as highly ranked or maybe thought of across the country as a recruit, but he came in much more ready to play right away. And David Stone very easily could have taken that as, it's somebody else's fault that I'm not playing as much, but he has done nothing of the sort. He's been an awesome work ethic guy since he showed up, and it is showing. Physically, he's gained like 25 pounds since he's been here, and we've talked about it a lot. He looks better now at 315 plus than he did whenever he showed up at 290. He looks like a grown man. It looks like a legit SEC defensive lineman. His pad level has improved. His technique has improved. He's not there yet, still a young player, but I mean, he looks like a 5-star and is going to give you 5-star type of play on the interior in coming years.
It's very exciting to see how much he's improved.
Yep.
And that's as a player, but mainly just like physically.
Yep.
You walk out there and you go, who is Zero?
Yep.
Zero looks the best. So I'm really excited to see how he carries the momentum of a solid spring into summer, into camp, and into the season, because they need him to be like a difference maker on the defense. Like, it's great to have solid play on the interior, like what they're getting from Dominic Williams, what they're getting from Grayson Halton. It changes everything you have to do as an offense if you got a game wrecker in there.
Yep. It totally changes the formula. But it makes I don't know that there's any single position outside of quarterback where if you have an outstanding player, standout player at interior defensive line, it makes everyone better. Linebackers immediately get better. Corners, secondary, the ball's coming out quick. When the ball's coming out quick and you know that the quarterback's not going to be able to stand in the pocket, pat the ball, go through progressions, you're able to tighten up coverage, jump routes, trust that the D line is going to get there. Running game, everything is more defined. Yeah, that's a game changer.
The most impressive young guy on defense in spring ball for me, we already talked about Hardy. We talked about Stone. I think Reggie Powers has really improved throughout the spring. I like the way that he looks. I'm gonna go with Taylor Wine though.
Yeah.
It feels like he's gonna be the other starter at the edge spot. And I just like you've got R. Mason over on one side, and it feels similar to the dynamic a season ago where you've got your pass rusher who R. Mason, we talked about it. He's really improved what he does holding up at the point of attack in the run game. But you've got this guy you got to be really, really worried about on the other side. And then you've got the psychopath on the other side.
Right.
You got the crazy white boy on the other side. That you just know, listen, hey, he may not beat me a ton in pass rush. Like he's not going to beat me with speed. Now I do think he's developed some nice inside counters.
I agree.
He's got a spin that he's been working on, that he's been utilizing in practice. It looks pretty good. He's got a nice little quick inside mood after, threatening you up the field. Like he's starting to develop some of those tools. But the number one reason I like him and he's been impressive is he's incredibly physical at the point of attack. And that's what wins in the SEC. That's what wins. You have to be incredibly physical at the point of attack. And it's as if that's what Taylor Wine wants every second of every day. Mm-hmm. That's what you want in an edge player. Now, I think he's going to continue to get better. He still needs to get stronger. He can get more explosive. Like, he's a young player, Ted. Mm-hmm. But I think he is coming along quickly. And that's like they still need more guys, but they needed someone to kind of step up and fill that void left by Ethan Downs. And I said months ago that it felt like Taylor Wine was the most natural fit to step into what Ethan did for this team a year ago. And it's looking like that's the case.
You just kind of look up and it's like, hang on a second. He's 275 pounds now. And, it's when some guys put a bunch of weight on, slows them down, and don't have the same get off. I mean, he looks as fast or faster. Get off is great, runs well. I mean, he carries that frame really well. I think that's a great pick.
I think him playing at that weight is like what this team needs. He's never going to be a guy that just beats tackles with speed. Like that's
Right.
not his game, or at least that's not what I've seen from him. So, to just make him big, strong, and like be a power guy.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with that, man.
No.
This is exactly what he
I'd
needs
say that's
to be.
one of the things that college tackles struggle with the most, right? Is a power rush. A guy that's a legit power rusher.
This is exactly what Taylor Wine needs to be. When a team is preparing to play Oklahoma, let's say it's midway through the season, and a team's watching the film, the tackle needs to go, damn it, this is going to hurt. You know it when you see it when you're preparing for a game as a lineman. It's like every time we played Kansas State in college, I'd watch their defensive tackles and just go, oh, my neck is going to be sore. They're just going to headbutt me over and over and over. You know it when you see it.
And you start seeing it weeks out when you're watching them play like other opponents, right? It's like, oh my God, what is that? What is happening here?
Ooh, violent. Like that does not look fun. Like you have those moments as you're preparing as a lineman. That's what Taylor Wine needs to be for this team. The guy that when the offensive line turns on the tape goes, oh man, like I don't know how many times he's going to beat me in one-on-one pass rush, but I know I'm going to walk off this field and be in pain.
Yeah, when you walk to the line and everyone has their brand new game helmets and all you've done is like a little bit of pre-game hitting and the guy's like helmet is scraped apart on the forehead and there's like face paint running down onto his jersey. It's like, oh my God, what is about to happen here?
Here we go. Spring Ball Awards. It was kind of fun.
It's good.
On that note, episode 519 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Sunday. Hopefully, we got a lot of portal additions to talk about, Ted.
Yes, sir.
Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, make sure you check out our website, okbreakdown.com. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. Have an awesome weekend. Playoffs are here, baby. Thunder up.
Hoist
Let's
the flag.
go.
Flash flood warning.
Let's go. Flash flood warning in effect. Until next time, we appreciate you for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.